Every single parent that I know is wrestling with the topic that we are going to take on today. How do we even begin to set boundaries for our teenagers who are already out of control with their social media? I mean, is all the hysteria that we hear about on the media actually a thing? Like, is it even worth the drama of setting boundaries? Is it just hype? I mean, do we monitor everything that they're doing on social media? Or do we just give them a flip phone and move to the woods?
I don't know. Well, welcome back to This Is Now, Parenting Teens Today, and a podcast where stop scrolling and we start talking about the parenting challenges no one warned you about.
I'm Tiffany Dogie.
And I'm Eric Chafin.
And today we have two incredible guests with us. Tell us about them.
So, Dr. Julie Radlauer, I'd like to, if you could take a minute and tell us a little bit about your background and on your tenure in mental health, and that would be great.
Yeah, because you're an expert in mental health, and you have three teenagers.
And yes, and
that's
outnumbered.
So I am a licensed mental health counselor, but I have not really been doing counseling with clients for a long time because I'm more of a researcher. And the work that I do is mostly at the population level. So I look at data to identify what are the changes that we need to make in society in our everyday actions to improve the overall outcomes. And as you mentioned, 3 teenage boys. Actually, one of them is no longer a teenager. He's beyond his teenage years, but he's a very young adult. And all of the things. So this is something that is near and dear to my heart because I'm concerned about not only the mental health of our young people, but also my own personal children and their mental health.
Nice. Also, we also have Melia Archie, and she also has 2 kids, and you actually regulate a little bit differently in terms of your young one and your teen. We're really excited to hear about how you're doing that, and I need to learn more about you.
How old is your oldest?
I have a 19-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh,
14 years apart.
Wow.
That's a lot of years.
That's a lot of years.
Listen, and I needed the gap.
Oh, okay. All right.
I needed a redo. We'll talk about it.
Dr. Julie.
Yes.
Every parent that I know has a different take on this. But what does the research actually say? How is social media impacting our teenagers and their mental health?
Well, so 95% of teens have social media or on social media. So that's a big number.
95.
Half of them report that they are constantly on social media. So half of all teenagers are walking around with their phone in their hand, constantly interacting with each other.
Now, wait, just for, I know I just interrupted you, but what I've noticed, because we have 29 on our main campus, is they're constantly on FaceTime. Like they will walk into my office and there is a person on the phone with them and they're having a conversation with me. And I'm like, who?
But why? Right?
Is that so? When you say 95 are always on social media, are you also including just in general?
So let me clarify. It's not just social media. It's screen time. So what is screen time? That's YouTube videos. That's social media. That's texting. That's FaceTime. Email, everything that we do, music.
All the things digital.
With the walking around with the box. You know what I mean? Like that's so constantly have it attached to them.
But why is it a problem?
So,
like, who cares if they have the box in front of them?
Who cares?
Like, honestly.
Well, so it interferes with face-to-face interaction with people because you can be in the middle of a conversation, get a text, and you just stop talking and start looking at the phone, right? So it interferes with face-to-face interaction is a big one. Also, it does something called capturing and scattering, right? So when you're looking at something, it's rewiring your brain to capture your attention, and then it scatters what you were doing. And so when we do that too many times, you have a difficult time focusing. So that's why people who spend a lot of time on social media are not really able to attend to issues. And when you think about our young people, like if you average out their days, they spend about 17 hours per day between sleep, school, homework. And then you talk to young people and say, well, how much time do you spend on social media? The average is about 6 hours a day between all of not just social media, but screen time. That means they have no time for downtime. This social media screen time phone has taken up all of their free time.
Wow.
That's it. So they don't have time to spend time with their family because it's the phone. They don't have time to spend with their friends in real life because the phone has taken up their time. And so that downtime where you independently play, make decisions for yourself, it's all being taken up
Wow.
with this
Oh,
box.
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
So, I mean, how does that impact your mental health? You can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting to hear how you're regulating your kids, because I have a few things that I've been trying, but I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of have two views. One as a content strategist that, develops strategies for social media. What I can
Right.
tell you is that how the algorithms are designed is to keep the children locked in. And so the more of a particular video that they're watching, the more they're going to be fed. And so when we talk about the dangers of social media, now just from a purely professional perspective, it's that, right? Not only just the amount of time that they're spending on social media, but what they're feeding themselves on. And so for my daughter, my 19-year-old, and she's given me permission to sort of talk openly about this, it would have been great to have her here. But with her depression, what we found was because she would watch videos that were sort of continuing to feed some of her depressive ideations and
Yes.
things like that, it really, really made it worse.
Right.
But she was also addicted to social media. So there was the fear of taking the thing that
Yes.
in her world brings her
Joy.
joy and happiness and connectedness, but also recognizing that it was that thing that was making her mental health condition worse. And so it took a lot of work with, in therapy to really sort of unwind that ball. And quite frankly, it's something that I think that we're still working through at her being 19. But the way that it started was we were just ignorant to it. This was before I was a content strategist, before I was sort of working in the space. Musically was TikTok before TikTok was TikTok. And I just remember she was making cool videos and I thought they were funny. I had no idea that it had taken her to a sort of a sunken place. And my regret that we sort of are course correcting with the younger child is I think we just gave her access way too early. She had a cell phone at 9. She was on Musical.ly at 9. By the time she was 13, she had, 50,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of responsibility. And
Yes.
so, a lot of her social cues, a lot of her self-esteem
Yes.
was caught up in the responses that she was or was not getting from social media.
Right.
And by the time we really realized that it was a problem, it was a problem.
Oh, it's
Wow.
we talked about that earlier as well. We talked a couple weeks ago, but when my son will be 30 this year. And when he first got his phone, he was 15, and there was a dramatic change in the way that he related to dramatic. Like we can pin it down to the month because he wasn't allowed to have his own phone. So he didn't have access. Everything was, I don't want to say new, but a lot has changed in the last 15 years, even our knowledge base. And so I can pinpoint the month that the way that he was communicating with us changed. And it is a direct correlation to the access that he had online. And we didn't know what to do with it. And we professionally have access to all of these resources and all of these experts. We did not know how to handle even basic restrictions. One time I took his phone away for the punishment was, okay, no phone for a week. By day 2, he was acting like a heroin addict.
Right.
Like behaviorally, I remember looking at Mark and going, oh my, this is what you see in
Dopamine
addiction
deficit.
behaviors. How does this compare to like alcohol, substance abuse or gambling or?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a stronger correlation between mental health and social media than there is between mental health and drinking, mental health and hard drug use, mental health and sexual assault.
No.
There's a stronger correlation between mental health and social media use than obesity, things that we know are problems and challenges. The problem is, and you guys are alluding to it, is the science hasn't caught up with what's happening in real life, but we're just now starting to catch up. There's a lot of data around social media use. I believe the way that government had to get involved with the cigarettes and seatbelts, this will be how we handle social media. It's a public health crisis.
And that is happening. So states like California and a few other states have mandated restrictions on social media use for children under the age of 18. And so I fully expect that we'll see more of that. But the reality is the restrictions are, have to be managed by the parents.
Right.
Right. And so if the parents are still allowing the access or sort of, overruling what the government is putting in place in the household, then it's not going to work. And so with our 5-year-old, one of the things that we've changed is to map out the day.
Okay.
Right. These are the times where you're allowed to have screen time. And I think you said it earlier, do you really does it have to be that dramatic? And I think the answer to that is absolutely yes.
Oh,
it has to. We really have. So no screen time in the morning. What is our morning routine? When in the evening when you come home, after homework, this is the time you get. Because if you don't, it gets away from you. And we're busy. My husband and I are entrepreneurs. We're working, and sometimes it's easy to. It used to be TV. Just sit the kids in front of the TV, and now it's the phone. It's YouTube. It's TikTok. And so it's really for us, right, to have a tight schedule so that we know how to manage it, and then creating some regulation for her, right, and some priorities in terms of what matters most.
I don't think it has to be dramatic, because I think it just needs to be, when you're working with a young person, like the child, like a 5-year-old, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It's just, this is what we do.
This is what we do.
Routine.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like, I think when you're dealing with the older teens that already have the addiction and you're having to take it away and that's how they communicate with their friends, then it becomes dramatic.
Yes.
But it was a shift for us as parents in terms of the more of the drama was for us, right?
Yes.
Because it was a complete shift in the way we parented.
Yes.
The 19-year-old versus the 5-year-old. So we had to learn and regulate ourselves more than the 5-year-old, because to your point, like she's gonna follow our lead. Exactly.
Yeah.
At another level, we struggle with this at another level on campus. Obviously, we've got, I mentioned this before, 29 kids on our main campus that are all under the age of 18. And this is a real safety issue because all of our kids have been abused or neglected. They've been removed from their families and placed in protective supervision. So we're dealing with other issues besides just normal parenting issues, but we're also dealing with normal parenting issues.
And who are they accessing online?
All of our kids have attorneys. And so when you have a high-level case with a child who does not need to be on social media, predators are on social media, and we take that phone away, we have attorneys that will rise up in defense of our teenagers and say, this is the way they communicate with the world. You are violating their rights. They have been cut off from their friends and their family. So you're right. The science hasn't caught up with our real life. Now, obviously, you're not going to ever deal with an attorney that says to you that you've cut your child off from communication with the world.
So ironic.
But my therapist, though, in the 19-year-olds, as we were sort of unwinding that ball, I thought that the therapist would agree with us, like, and say, take the phone, it's affecting her mental health. But she had, I think an approach that was more in the middle, which was, this is the way they communicate. And it is important to her to be able to have some access. And it would be detrimental to, go have her go cold turkey. So, we have to work on a schedule and a plan. We put the phone and lock it up and do family stuff and just really require her to be present and be aware, but to give it back and to allow her to have some
change atmosphere,
freedom. Right. Yeah. So I think that is important, because what I realized with our 19-year-old especially is she has relationships. She calls people best friends that she's never physically met.
I know.
Even met.
That's wild.
That's
Even
the language
met.
of social media.
Yes.
It's your friends.
Yes.
You're like, are they really your friends?
Like, where do you know this person from? Oh, Instagram. Do you really? But it's a thing. And I think so it's something for us as adults to challenge ourselves to understand a world in which this has always been for them. You know, for us, because we know a world without cell phones. And, okay, I just really aged
I
myself.
literally had that
Actual
conversation,
conversations.
with my teens just recently, and I was telling my middle one, Abby, and our kids are super, super, like, we have them in volleyball. They don't have time to get, they get on the phone, but it's not like, we're getting them saturated. But I was telling my daughter, I go, you matter back in the day, when I needed to.
Back in the day.
Back
You
in the
said
day.
that.
Back in the day.
late
Where did
1900s.
you come from? Back in the,
You just
but
said that.
back in the day, yes, that was an old
You have
comment.
to start
That was
saying my
an
thing. You're
old
saying
man
back in the late 1900s.
back in school. Anyway, but no, it was really wild because I'm sitting there thinking about this. Anything that you wanted to learn or know, you tapped into your foundation, your value system, which was your family. You went to your uncle, you went to your grandfather, whoever that was, to understand, hey, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do that. And now they don't go to, they don't come to dad. They don't go to the uncle. They just go right to their phone. And now that value system and that narrative is completely shifted.
Yeah.
And I was telling my 16-year-old about this, Abby. And I go, do you imagine, not having a phone and then you're doing this? She goes, actually, Dad, that sounds actually awesome. My 16-year-old said she said it was awesome. I think that you guys had a much better time.
Wow.
This is a 16-year-old
that's
telling me
a lot
that.
of stress
But she
for these
sees
kids.
all these different things.
It's a lot of stress.
Now,
for
my
these
14-year-old, now she's, a whole nother,
Not everybody needs people chafing. Don't
Yeah,
judge.
She's my little 14-year-old CEO.
Not everybody's a peopler.
All
great.
three of you that I've shared you with.
I want to know from you, when did you start to recognize, Melia, that this was related to her screen time, that this was related to social media? Like, what were the red flags that you were seeing that you were like, oh, we have a problem?
So it actually happened with a bullying incident when she was in middle school. And she opened up that she was being bullied. We went to the school and realized that all of it was happening over Instagram.
Oh.
And that actually she had precipitated it by, creating a fake account and reaching out to people that she wanted to be friends with and back and forth. And I was just blown away that there was that much activity over social media that had caused these real life in-person now conflicts for her that, she was destroyed. Because in middle school, your reputation is everything, and they figure it out. And so everyone was sort of talking about it, and she didn't think she could recover from it. And it came from the social media interactions that she was having. Wow. And so I think that was when the light bulb went off for us.
Were you monitoring her account prior? Were you monitoring her real account that was not really the real account?
I thought I was.
Yeah.
But then I realized that there's spam accounts.
Yes.
They have 3 and 4 accounts that you don't know about. And so we thought we knew what was going on and had no idea
that moment is I remember the first moment that we realized that Jordan had another, and it was an email address. It wasn't even and I was just devastated. I was like, I don't trust you. He has another email address that we don't know about. Like, we thought we were really doing this great job by monitoring all of
He's
his
being teenagers, trying to have his own identity, probably.
I know. It's so hard for these. But
stupid autonomy.
For girls.
yeah. Who needs that? Yeah.
That's the problem here. For girls, though, there's a much higher incidence of cyberbullying, which often leads to mental health issues. So
For
it's a big
grown
challenge.
girls, too. I just want to put that out there. The cyberbullying is real. It doesn't ever
I do
go
have a
away.
fake account that I constantly are. I'm
Is
just
it
kidding.
poking her?
Yeah.
Are
exactly.
you a girl? Did I just say girls? I think I should say girls.
I set up a fake account. You don't know what gender it was.
Oh, don't.
So it's him. All those nasty messages
All right.
you're getting.
Don't tell Tiffany.
He's pretending he's a grown woman and he's making me sad. All right. I could totally see you doing that. I could. All right. Whatever. So a lot of parents ask us, They do. They come to us like we're experts.
You are.
We are not experts, people. We just know experts. We just played it on TV. I don't know where to start with this. I don't know how to implement boundaries for my kids. So one of the things that we did to accompany this episode is that we created a download. It is free. It's called the Social Media Checkup. And it's a guide to help you figure out exactly what's going on with your teen's digital world. How much time are they spending online? Who are they talking to? What kind of content are they looking at? This is going to help you answer those questions so that you have a baseline. Where do you start? How do you set the right limits for your family? Because what's right for your family may not be what's right for Melia's family. So go to the notes in the episode, download that guide. It's completely free. All right, next question. What do you got?
Next question. Oh, man, where are we at? So sorry. I'm so scripted, just like Melia.
What? I got a question. I'm gonna steal your question.
Steal my question.
I'm gonna steal. Okay.
Yes.
What's one practical step that our listeners can take today to start making that shift?
I think one of the things that I've heard Melia say a lot, and I know this to be true, is that it really begins with a conversation. We can, unfortunately, young people that we're talking about, their brains are not fully developed. They're not really good with impulse control, right? But we can begin to talk to them a little bit
Neither
about.
am I, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, since President comes
So true. So
Wait a minute, I got
true.
my phone. I know there's like
Squirrel.
I know, right? But, we need to begin to educate them. Right. So when we're talking not a 5-year-old, we're setting the boundaries and the routine
For them.
But when we're with, older teens, we want to educate them about what this is doing to their brain. Mm-hmm. And I know we say, they don't care. And because they don't care, but they will hear it. So when you put the restrictions in place, they understand the why behind it. Mm-hmm. And I had this conversation with one of my teens. He spent a lot of time on social media, especially at night. It was like, okay, after dinner, shower, everything. And then he would just kind of like disappear into his room. And so when I started talking to him about what the dopamine loop is like and how it's never ending. And so when he spends time on social media, he sees something he likes, he gets a hit, and then it's gone. And then he wants another hit and another hit and another hit. And I started explaining that to him and said what that's doing to his brain and how it's going to inhibit his ability to think later, the next day in school. And he shouldn't have social media an hour before he goes to bed because it interferes with his sleep patterns.
Wait, how does it inhibit his? I know I'm interrupting you all the time, but how does it inhibit his brain the next day for school?
So when you're constantly getting a hit of dopamine,
okay,
that goes into your brain and it goes into your body, you feel good. Mm-hmm. When you don't get that hit, you have the letdown. So then you feel bad and you feel depressed. So if I'm spending time on social media all day and then I wake up the next day, my body's not creating creating dopamine because the social media was doing it for me. Okay. So now I'm on the low and I show up on the low until I get another hit. And we become addicted. We're not addicted to social media. We're addicted to the dopamine hit.
This feels like what caffeine does to me.
100%. It's an addiction.
I was thinking lists. Like when you go through and you're knocking at each one, it's a hit.
You are awful.
No, I'm serious. It's a really good thing. It's accomplishments. I'm thinking back, like when
He's
you have
mocking
goals
me.
and you're going through that.
He's mocking
me.
But that's a healthy dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we should aspire to. It's to have normal interactions throughout our day that are giving us that versus social media because you can't satisfy it.
Right. So when normally we get a dopamine hit when we accomplish something. It's okay, I did this, I accomplished it. Yes. I get that hit. Yeah. I'm working for it. Right. With social media, we're not working for it. We're just
you feel empty.
Scrolling.
You're like, I didn't do anything to actually accomplish this. There was
right,
nothing.
exactly. And then
free
so what
hit.
else? I need more, which is endless because you can be scrolling all day long. But when you're not working for it, you don't appreciate it as much. And when you get too much of it, your body stops creating it. So then you're walking around on this low, and what you need is
more
a hit. You need more.
Interesting.
So that you're constantly
So it really is an addiction
It's
behavior.
It's an addiction.
It doesn't look like a behavior of an addict. It really is the behavior of an addict.
Physiologically, in your brain and your body, it is an addiction. Now, the way we show up in regular life is how we show up on social media. Some people don't have an addictive personality, right? Some people can have a drink and walk away, and other people, they drink and they want more and more and more. So if you have that addictive personality, you're going to show up in social media with an addictive personality. If you're very
That's good.
introverted, you're showing up on social media as somebody who's scrolling. If you're extroverted, you're showing up as somebody who's posting. So with the way we show up in real life is how we show up on social media.
so good.
The
That is
good
good.
and the bad.
Wow.
So if I'm somebody who's somewhat depressed, social media is going to make me more depressed.
And it's designed that way, like I said,
It
with the
is by
algorithm.
design.
Yeah.
Algorithms.
Just going to keep that narrative
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
Unless you
Because they want
change
you to
it.
keep scrolling.
Right.
So,
So
they're
that's
going to
part of
give
the
you
conversation.
So you break the,
Yeah,
so
and that's
which I've actually gone onto my my girl's, my 14-year-old Hannah's TikTok, and I'm seeing what she's, nothing bad, whatever. I'm going through it, and I'm like, and I start putting other keywords in there that are more brightening and like that. So I'm like, hey, let's hack our kids' social to then put words in there to then mess with the algorithm.
But teach them how to do it.
Right.
That's what I say, is educate them, right? So
Right.
sit down and go, okay, wow, this is a lot of news, politics, car crashes,
Right.
right? Like, let's switch this around.
What's that?
What are the things that make you happy?
Yeah.
I,
And then start-
I remember the first time I learned about the algorithm. I'm being triggered today with all these memories. I remember when I had a girlfriend. We're obviously, my husband is a gym rat, and so we were very, very, very into fitness. And clearly not today, but there was a time. And so I was getting a lot of ads about exercise equipment, clothing. And I remember saying to her, oh my gosh, I want to try out that new blah, blah, blah.
Oh, gosh.
And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you don't get those ads on your Instagram? I get those ads like every other thing is this. I think it was a booty belt. It was like some sort of
Right.
hip thing that I
phone's
was
listening
it's
to
like, I
you,
want to
Tiffany.
get that. And she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I went, what ads are on your Instagram
Yeah, what's on
feed?
yours?
She was like, jewelry? Jewelry? I've never seen a jewelry
Behavioral
ad.
advertising. They're
I
feeding you
know.
what you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
It's
it,
amazing.
it was like
Yeah.
this crazy, scary, amazing.
It is amazing.
It is amazing, but it's also really creepy.
Yeah.
It is really
I talk to
creepy.
my
But
phone
you
now.
can change the narrative.
But explaining that to kids.
Yeah.
Right? It's like explaining to them, why do you see the things that you see? If you paused, that means you see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
it's
So
almost
if you
like
stop for a second
Yeah,
to
just
look
to
at that,
scroll right
it's
through it.
almost
real
saying
fast.
like who you are, who you hang out with. You are who you're scrolling.
you
Yes.
are who you're seeing.
Or
You are
seeing
what
or
you're
What
seeing.
you stop on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are what you see.
Yeah.
What you're seeing.
That's why I see you all the time on my
I think that
Instagram
might be
feed.
another brand, by the way.
All the time because I listen to your actual videos, and so you're like every
Oh,
other
a
thing.
lot
Like,
of
oh, there she is
FaceTime there.
again. Oh, there she is.
Sorry.
It's like,
She's like, share, and subscribe. So if today's conversation resonated with you and you want more, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Don't forget to access that free download so you can start with your social media checkup. We're going to be sending out digital detox resources all month long, every single week. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, yes, I know this is a problem. I just don't know where to begin in my home. I don't know how to fix this. Stick around because in our next episode, Dr. Julie and Melia are going to give us real strategies for a social media reset.
thanks for joining us. And this is Now Parenting Teens Today. We'll see you next time.
Bye.